Morning.
And good evening for those who are in the other part of the world, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand. We are going to have this webinar about AS4. Jesper Larsen, our support lead, technical support lead, he will be presenting, and also some of you who will present your solutions. I would like to ask everyone to please keep muted because we are many people in the audience. So just to let the speakers have a clean floor. So then floor to you, Jesper, to start.
Thank you, Lefteris, and welcome to everyone. My controls are shrinked, so I can't see how many we are, but I think we're a decent amount of people. We have some topics to cover. Among these topics, we're going to be talking about the AS4 migration policy that went out yesterday. We're going to be talking about the current status of the AS4 migration. We have some vendors here that's going to present their products. We're going to be talking about how to do the AS4 onboarding test. We have a fair amount of providers that needs to do this test, so we're going to be showing this, and then we have a question section. So we have some stuff to cover, so I think that we should be moving. I will be controlling this major slideshow for all the vendors, so when it is your turn to present, please let me know to go to next slide and so on, because yeah, we'll see how it goes. So AS4 migration status and the highlights of the AS4 policy that went out. Today, we have 67 AS4 certified Peppol Service Providers. That means we have 67 who did the onboarding test, and that has now been awarded AS4 on our website and are allowed to do AS4 messaging in Peppol in production. That includes all the Australian and New Zealand members and every other only AS4 provider. We have some of those that didn't do AS2, but only AS4. So just looking at the testing facility backlog, we can see about 40 providers that are currently doing the AS4 test. They have not completed for some reason. Looking at this in a summary, we have 261 AS2 certified service providers today in production. Out of these, 203 are missing AS4. So that's a fair amount of service providers and something we need to react on. What are we doing? I have been, or operations have been actively sending the Peppol authorities logs and reports of which providers that are missing AS4. We've been doing this for a couple of months now, and so I also hope that they have been able to reach out to you. I'm pretty sure they have, because you signed the contract and the TIA with them, so we of course want to inform them who is missing AS4, and it's of course not binding for you to be AS4 compliant at the moment, not until 1st of February, but we encourage everyone to get it done, so we don't have a long list of people testing in the last week. That would be a bad case. So besides informing the Peppol authorities, we are trying to create some communication now with the AS4 migration policy that should answer some questions, and we are trying to create some awareness by creating a webinar like this. So this is the current status. So the AS4 migration policy. This policy explains the central dates, the actions, and the responsibilities in the migrations from AS2 to AS4, as AS4 is a new mandatory protocol. I'm not going to go into details about everything in the migration policy. I urge everyone to go and read that. It's not that long, and it's easily understood, I think. But the main date is the 1st of February. On this date, all service providers with a need to exchange messages in production must have done the Peppol AS4 onboarding. 1. So we're going to talk a little bit about this onboarding later, but that's important. Everyone must have done this. On this date, all receivers in the SML must be registered with the Peppol AS4 profile as a minimum. You can have AS2, but as a minimum, you must have AS4 on all receivers. The entire network must be AS4 ready. After this date, sending Peppol providers access points are strongly encouraged to prioritize AS4 in situations where the receiver has support for both AS2 and AS4. So it is possible to have a receiver that has both AS2 and AS4 protocol. So here we strongly advise you to prioritize sending with AS4. And why? Because we are, of course, all interested in having a one protocol network. And we're going to have a one protocol network when the transactional volume of AS2 drops below 20%. So in that sense, if that's a programming thing on your side, it probably is, but to prioritize AS4 is important. So yeah. So Klaus.
Yes, just a visual of what Jesper has just already said. This is basically what was said about AS4. It's optional today, and on the 1st of February it will be mandatory, and it will continue to be mandatory. With the AS2, it's a little bit of a different story also, because we have also a transition in AS2. It was actually already announced back in April. We have been quite relaxed on this one, also not to give too much noise into this transition on AS4. But it is right now, basically everybody is using the AS2 version 1. Which is mandatory. It should have actually been converted to optional at this moment, but as I said, we've been a little bit relaxed on this. And then we have a version 2 of AS2 also. It is actually right now optional, and what it will continue to be is actually optional, whereas the AS2 version 1 on the 1st of February will just be discontinued. So it also means that if you are running AS2 after the 1st of February, it is important that that version of AS2 is a version 2. And that's the basic message about the AS2 and its continuing use of AS2 after the 1st of February. And back to you, Jesper.
Yes, thank you. So I've had some questions about in our service desk. We've had some questions about what happens after February, and I can tell you a little bit about what we're going to do actively. We're going to be monitoring the SML for the AS4 support. So basically, we're going to do some statistics and reporting on all receivers, and we're going to see if they have AS4. And everyone that does not have AS4, of course, will be advising. And the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be advising to the Peppol authorities of the service providers, which has end users without AS4. So it's always a chain. So we're going to go to the Peppol authorities, and of course, there are lots of those, and we hope that it will not be a big problem, but we're going to be monitoring this because there will be some. It's inevitable. The Peppol authorities will actively engage all providers not ready with AS4 before February, and that is according to the testing and accreditation of AS4. It's really important to be ready by February. And what happens if you're not ready? I've had this question several times because we've had some providers that already know now that they will be not ready. They will probably go a week or 14 days past due to some problems they have on their side. So all I can say is that no one is cut or revoked from the network from February as a general principle. We don't like to exercise this, and we won't do it. But of course, if it persists that you're not AS4 ready and you are in production, then that becomes a problem. So if you're not ready, it will be spotted, and the Peppol authorities will need some sort of measure from you to see how you're actually going to get this ready. So it will be very tightly identified who is not ready, but no one will be caught or revoked with their current production certificates. If it persists in a longer scale, then that might be the option, because everyone needs, from a compliance perspective, to have AS4. It's a given. So just a little note from myself. If we think about who is actually losing here, is the end users, your customers, because they will not have true reachability in the Peppol network. If you don't have AS4, you're not connected truly to all of the other service providers, and hence not all of the business partners. And that makes the losers your customers, I would say. So something to think about. So I think we'll go to AS4 implementations and products, and we have 5 vendors that is going to talk a little bit today. And the first vendor we have is Philip. Philip Helga, are you here? Stefan Jeiser, can I have you mute? Okay, Philip is not here. Okay, let's see. Holodeck, Renate, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. I have someone with noise on the lines, Renate. I'm going to find them and mute them if I can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's too many people here for me to control. Just want to see. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay, Renate, I need to switch presentations because I couldn't get your presentation into this major one. So just hold on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'll leave the floor to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, next slide, please. So, Holodeck B2B, an open source AS4 messaging product. We were one of the very first to be CEF conformant. It's a fully tested product and has passed the CEF conformance test as well as the Peppol onboarding test. The company that has created Holodeck is called Chuskeys. And we have created profile and business specific gateways using the Holodeck B2B AS4 messaging core. Our Peppol gateway is also fully tested. It's actually already in use in the network. And it's a very easy and quick to implement plug and play solution, I would call it. It's available both hosted and on premise. And we find that if everything goes as it should, it's implemented in a matter of actually days, not weeks. A rush implementation, a hosted instance, we could probably have it up in 1 day. So no excuses for not being online on the 1st of February. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Well, the gateway, it's a very flexible solution. It's standalone, so it stands next to your current backend and is connected to that backend. I think that somebody else still has their audio.
Yeah, I think so too. Just hold on. It's all the callers that coming in, I think. Guys, can you mute if you're not speaking, please? Okay, you have to continue, Renate. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Well, as I said, it's a standalone solution. Works with the current backend system you have that is sending AS2 messages, as long as your backend system can produce a valid business document, which you will now be sending using AS2. Our gateway can send that message to that business document. The integration with your backend system is either file-based or through a REST API. Both are SPDH based, so that means that you just provide your business document, and based on the SPDH, the gateway will do everything else that's necessary. That includes the dynamic configuration and all AS4 protocol specifics. It might be good to mention that this is not just for post-award, but it's also for pre-award, which has some extra requirements, being the REM evidences that have a timestamp, which is new. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the design of the gateway is modular. That makes it easy to customize and upgrade by adding extra extensions. We offer gateways that have various messaging capacity, depending on the capacity enhancing modules that we have installed. We can also do customization work. We have had some inquiries about specific business backend integrations and other business specific things that people would like to have installed, and if necessary we can create that. Although we do find that for a quick and easy install, the current offering usually is just fine. What we can offer, as I mentioned, Holodeck B2B is in its core an AS4 product. We also do support AS2. That's another extension we can add to the gateway, making it a single multi-protocol gateway. And this is truly just one gateway. This is not two gateways installed next to each other. And whether to use the AS4 or AS2 protocol is also dynamically configured by the gateway. So it's just one connection to one gateway. Whether you'll be sending AS2 or AS4, you don't even have to know whether your messaging partner is already over to AS4. The gateway will dynamically configure the correct protocol to use based on the SMP. Next slide, please. Well, so handy links. I try to keep this as short as possible because I understood there were many other people coming on.
Yes,
presentations.
there are. So thank you very much for this, Renate.
You're welcome.
I will leave the floor to Philip, who has arrived, I understand. So thank you, Renate.
Yes,
Philip?
Yes,
welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. And your presentation is on. So.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity and sorry for being late. We currently have issues with the metro in Vienna, which delayed the morning for many people. So I'm sorry again. I just have 2 slides. This is my so-called phase 4. This is, yeah, just go to the next slide. This is just the intro.
Yes.
The key facts is this is another open source solution. It is Java based as most of the other solutions as well. The big difference is that my solution is Apache 2 licensed, meaning this is a little more business friendly than comparable licenses. It is a generic AS4 solution, even though it is tailored for the usage in Peppol. So, for example, certain AS4 extensions like multi-hop or the like are not available, but for the Peppol use case, this is all not needed. But what you get instead is a good support for custom certificates, for all the SPDH handling, the SMP lookup, and you also get the document validation, which is a very important part for you as a sender. And the clue is that my solution is not a standalone solution, but something that you can integrate in your existing ERP or whatever systems, so that you can send and receive AS4 messages directly. Therefore, this is something that you download, install, and double-click somewhere. Caller 11, can you please mute yourself somehow on the keyboard? Thank you. So this is something that you can integrate, and you can find the URL here. And next slide, please. So I'll try to be honest and not just provide the positive sides, but also a few negative sides. So the pros is clearly it's open source, it's standard based, and it has a business friendly license. It's also highly customizable since you need to integrate it into your solutions. You can either use it, with whatever framework you like. Basically, I know of integrations with Camel. It can be integrated with AWS. It's in a regular Tomcat, Wildfly, whatever you need. So it adapts to your environment by using the set of basic standards. And as most of people have heard my name so far, I do have a long time focus on Peppol, so I know the ups and downs pretty well, and so this is all part of the solution. The con is I'm a single person guy, so I have a really high bus factor. There is no 24/7 support, and there is no standalone version that you can easily try out and just click through. My solution is very code-based. Nevertheless, I'd be happy to help you setting it up. You can see my email on the right, and if you're also looking for some SMP solution, just give a small hint. So that would be it from my side. Thank you very much for the possibility, and enjoy the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Philip. So let's see. We did Philips and we did Holodeck. Hans Berg.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Great. Sorry for being late in the meeting, but I finally arrived home. Train issues. So we have services for Peppol, infrastructure services for Peppol. You can switch the slide. I actually only have these two slides because I know we had to keep it short. Anyways, we offer infrastructure services for Peppol. So you could either use them on site, on premise, where you can integrate them with whatever backend system that you might have. And I would like to emphasize that we have a great track record in terms of number of customers, coverage in geographical regions. We have close to 100 customers in the Peppol network using any of our services. What we focus on, as I said, is availability and uptime, and we have had a 99.93% uptime across the services that the products that we offer. So the AS4 capability that we're currently finishing tests now will be run through the test in January. So as we have a lot of customers, we are assisting them in getting through the test bed. So our aim is to make sure that they are AS4 capable well in advance of February 1st. So I would advise you to get in touch with us if you would like to know more about how we can help. That's pretty much it, Jesper.
Okay, thank you, Hans. We'll go to the next one. So that would be Martin, I guess.
Hello, I'm Martin.
Hello.
I'm member of
Hi,
the
Martin.
technical
I need
team.
to make you presenter. I don't have your slides.
Okay.
They didn't come to me. So
I will do that.
can you do that? Okay.
Okay. I'm not yet present. Let's see. I'm asking if I can share my screen.
Let's see if Lefteris can find you in the
Yes.
You got it?
Yes. Do you see something?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I have a couple of slides, but I promise I'll go fast. So, Domibus and the Peppol eDelivery network and other eDelivery AS4 conformance solution. So, what about Domibus? Domibus has its origin in the eCodex project and was further refined in other large-scale pilots. And currently, the code is being maintained by the CEF eDelivery team at Digit. So Domibus is a sample implementation of the eDelivery AS4 profile maintained by the Commission, and it's implemented in Java. The source code is freely available under the EU PL 1.2 license. So it's not as business friendly as Apache or other licenses, but usually it's the principle public money, public code. So whoever is interested in keeping the code open should not be worried about that. Then, in the next slide, Domibus successfully passed the AS4 test of the Peppol centralized test bed in 2018 with version 4.01, but we now have version 4.1.2 released in November last month, available online. And we are describing Peppol specific configuration sections in the admin guide. Now, we only support AS4, not AS2, so if you need to have the solution, please go and look for another solution, because we will definitely not support AS2, which means that during the AS4 migration transition period, you need to have another AS2 access point. So that means that in the SMP, there would be an entry for the Domibus AS4 URL and an entry for the other AS2 access point. And after the transition period, the associated AS2 access point SMP entry could be removed. Here's a slide about the roadmap of eDelivery. You can find it online, but I'm sure after the meeting you will get the slide deck so you can go and look for it. We have a governance page where you can issue change requests and the like, but I need to make a kind of caveat here. We don't just accept any kind of change request. We only accept change requests that are for the better good of the whole community and which we deem are fitting, let's say, for the greater purpose. So if you really need to have custom support, we encourage you to go and find a solution in the market. And this brings me to the next slide, which is the list of eDelivery AS4 conformance solutions. So I would really encourage you to go there and see if one of these solutions is matching your needs and is able to give you the custom support and features that you might need. So all of this list, they are available also online on our CEF eDelivery page, and you can find the details and the contact information about them. If we look at the pickup, then since 2016, the adoption of eDelivery AS4 has been steadily growing, and we're now around 25 conformance solutions, with a couple of more being underway. So this brings the total, let's say, of active and ongoing to more than 30. So you really have a lot of choice to choose from. And this is actually only the base set of solutions. So if somebody is offering a service based on one of these solutions.
Sorry, Martin, hold on.
Yeah.
Caller 17, sorry.
Yeah, this is just the core of the solution. So if somebody is reusing a solution like FOSS or like Oxalis or something else and is offering that as a service, it's not even counted here. So you really have a lot of, let's say, choice in the marketplace. So this is our biggest message. So go and make it work. You don't have any excuse, actually. So if you have any questions for us, then please contact us through our support mail.
Thank you, Martin. So the vendors are actually very quick compared to what I thought. But we have one last. Terrace, if you can give me presenter back. Yes. See. Yeah. So Klaus,
and very quickly about Oxalis and the AS4. If you just move one slide. Yes, thank you very much. I'll do it very, very quickly. We are in Oxalis version 4.1. This is another open source product, also a product with no support. And when I say product, it's not actually, you could say a product. It's more like a set of Java libraries that can help you in setting up an access point. Then, as you see, we have both AS2 versions being supported in version 4.1. You will find Oxalis on GitHub, and we also have a small video on that. Oxalis AS4 we also have on GitHub, and there's also a video around how to install that. We are working right now to, you can't call it integrate, but it package those two together in a new Oxalis version. Doesn't change anything. It's the same code, it's the same everything, just to get it integrated into one Oxalis version. So basically, that's all for me.
Okay, Klaus, thank you. That basically took us through 5 examples of software that you can use for getting AS4 support. So thank you to all vendors for coming. This was somewhat quicker than I thought, but that's good. So we can maybe have a little longer of a question session. This takes us to the AS4 onboarding testing process section. I will be driving this, and if there is anything of technical nature, but it's more for the question sections, I'm backed up by Michael, who is our second level support and also main developer of the test bed. So, and we call it the test bed or the testing facility. We want to call it test bed, but people call it test platform or testing facility. But it's the same thing we're talking about in any instance. So, what is the Peppol test bed? The test bed is managed and developed by OpenPeppol operations. It is a self-service where no human interference is needed from OpenPeppol side. So you basically engage this test bed through a URL, and then you're able to do the test on your own. You're basically testing against an Oxalis AS4 implementation, which is the implementation we chose to use. The testbed does have functionality for more different implementations, but currently it's only Oxalis that you're testing against. Access to the testbed is done through your AP test certificate. So when you read our testbed guide, which I hope you do before you test, you will see that you're supposed to upload these certificates into your browser. And when you then enter the testbed, they are your login credentials. If you don't have an AP test certificate, that is an absolute vital to doing this test. Come to our service desk and obtain it. I know for a fact that some of you don't have these certificates, so you will need them to do the test. So the first thing is to get this certificate, and you can do that right away. You need to have it. So what are the prerequisites of doing this test, so you don't just jump into it? I think that it is beneficial for everyone doing the test to read our testbed guide. It's basically a very detailed guide of how you do this test. Also describes everything that all the technical prerequisites of ports and SSL and stuff that you need to have in place before we can approve you. So read this testbed guide before you start doing the test. And then an important thing is the SSL configuration. We are doing on the back of your test SSL test to check if your SSL configuration is optimal. And here we are doing that through SSL Labs, but you can use other sites that test this. But basically, we don't accept anything below grade A. So We have had testers finishing their test, but then I can see the URL is below grade A. That will actually give a fail at our end, which will make you do this again. So do make sure your SSL configuration is grade A or above before starting. And friendly advice, I would say, try to complete at least one successful transaction in your own unit testing environment. The testbed is not created as a sandbox. It's an onboarding testing facility. There's nothing we can do to prevent you, but do try to do this at home before coming to the testbed. Gives a much more fluid flow and process, I would say. In the test, you're not asked to publish any participants in the SMK or in the SMP and SMK, just to be clear. So the actual process. You configure your browsers to use the Peppol certificates for client authentications, like I told you before, and then you basically browse to the testbed URL, and then you start up fully fresh in the testbed. You won't have any active test suites. A test suite is a suite that consists of a certain amount of test cases. We currently have 2 test suites in our testbed. We can test for AS2 and AS4. So AS4 being the relevant one for everyone, you pick AS4 and then basically enroll for the test suite. I will not go into details about what that takes you, but there is some master data you need to enter. It's pretty self-explanatory. Or you take the testbed guide, which explains to you what it is. When you have the test suite opened, basically it consists of 4 eDelivery test cases. These test cases all need to be completed for a full test to be done. And it's made like so that you cannot go to test case 2 before test case 1 is finished. So they will all be gray at first, but when you finish number 1, it will become green. So when you the first test case, we send you a BIS invoice, and this BIS invoice you're asked to send back to us using a dynamic lookup where you switch around sender and receiver. The same thing is done with a large order. We send a large order, I think over 50 megabytes. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it over 50 megabytes?
It's actually 30 megabytes.
30 megabytes. Okay, see. So 30 megabytes, and you are asked to deliver this 30 megabyte BIS order back. We're not testing the payload. This is eDelivery testing. We're testing your AS4 capability. We're not yet testing payload. We're going to do this in a later phase in the testbed. But this is just testing eDelivery. But the files are valid because we create them and we ask them to send you back. So you're not creating files yourself. You're getting a file through the network and you're delivering it back through the network. So once you've done these 4 test cases and you're all good, this is the basic picture you'll see. So this is a snapshot shot from the test bed, and you can see the test being completed, and you can see a report. This report is a PDF, and that's the one on the right side. This report needs to go to OpenPeppol, and it needs to go through OpenPeppol through the Jira service disk. This is also in the testbed guide, but I just want to stress it because it's one of these things that we have seen is actually people finishing the test and doing nothing. And that's a shame, because if you finish the AS4 test, you might as well give us the test report so we can certify you. But there might be a glimpse of communication from our side. So I'm saying to everyone here now, when you're done with the test report and you want to onboard, then you send the test report to us through the test type in the Jira. It's in the testbed guide. So just some experiences that we see. when we are sitting on the other side of the test, because we also help testers and we see what they struggle with and we see who does not struggle. So the ones struggling are the ones that have self-customized or self-built AS4 solutions. For some reason, it can be very hard to make this Peppol compliant. And I think it has to do with understanding exactly how the Peppol four-corner model and the SMP and the SML interacts, because that's not normal AS4. It can be very three-corner model. So if you come from an environment where you use AS4 in these three-corner model setups, implementing this to fit into the Peppol box can be hard, and that's what we see. So of course, as a factum, open source is much faster implemented, and that's just what we see. People have a hard time sometimes reading the Peppol AS4 profile, because in the Peppol AS4 profile, it is a multi-layer profile. It references into the Ceph eDelivery AS4 profile and so on down to RFCs. So it's not enough. If you're building your AS4, you need to read the Peppol, but then you also need to read down into the eDelivery of Ceph, and that can be challenging for some people. So it's important to have proper AS4 competencies if you're building it yourself, and then because you're actually expected to be able to read this all the way nested down. This is what people are struggling with. Where to get support? This is also something that we see on a daily basis. So if it has to do with the testing and the test bed, we are offering echo. We're offering support. Sorry, I have a echo.
Can you unmute, please?
Do I still have echo? No, I don't have echo. So support, we are giving. Sorry, who is ever is
Robin Hughes.
Do I still have echo? I don't have echo. Okay, so where do you go to get support? Behind the service desk, there are. Sorry, I need to find this echo source. Okay, it seems like I lost the echo source. So when it comes to support, we have the Gyro service desk where you can put in support tickets, and we're helping. Basically, we're of course mostly interested if something is wrong with the test platform, but we are helping to the extent that we can help. We're not debugging individual implementations because there's so many, but we're glad to help out if you have a problem, and usually we are able to help you. But when it comes to debugging your implementations or your code, there you need to go to your vendor, and that takes me to the critical thing about support. If you have an open source solution without support, then you need to acknowledge it's without support, because some of these don't have support. So it might be something to think about when you choose your AS4 implementation is, do I actually buy something that has support, or are we competent enough to take an open source without support? Because what happens if we ever need help? That's something to think about, and that's something we have seen people struggling with. Yeah, remember to send in the test report if you want to onboard. There it is again.
Jesper?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I just like to add 2 points here. Another case we've seen is from people using some of the software that has been presented today, that is Ceph capable. So we see people that are configured in the Ceph eDelivery P mode and not the Peppol AS4 P mode. These two things are not the same thing, so obviously it won't work. So this is something you have to think about. Another detail, when you ask for support, please be specific. I mean, it's a multi-tenant system, so provide us with timestamps when you actually try to send or try to receive something, and as much information as possible, because otherwise, I mean, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack for us.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mike. And that actually takes me to the end of the testing. So just to summarize, your AP test certificates give you access. There's a testbed guide, basically describing everything. It's a fairly simple test. Send in your test report when you're done. And when you, we will look at it on the inside and check your SSL. So make sure your SSL is grade A or above. And if everything is fine, then you're on the website as AS4 and you're allowed to do AS4 in production. It's very simple. Some useful links, the testbed guide, the AS4 profile. We created a specific place for AS4 service providers where we put them on their own page on peppol.eu for end users that are looking for AS4 providers, just to have it decoupled. A link to the service desk, a link to the Peppol AS4 implementation. Some of these have been presented to you today, but there are also others in there. Go have a look. So on time, I see we have approximately 10 minutes.
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, but Lefteris, Klaus, do you want to add anything before we go into the question section?
Oh, I think we should just go to the question. And there's already one question in the chat.
Okay.
But maybe Akiva would repeat it on with their own words.
The testbed site seems offline. Can you verify that, Mike?
No, it's a testbed site. No, it's offline. It's online.
Okay. So Richard Van Maren, that's the first question I saw. It seems to be online. So.
Yeah, but okay. So it's that's an authentication error. HTTP 4.3. So.
Okay, then you didn't authenticate with your certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, install your certificate in your browser before going into the testbed. Okay.
And then there's one question from Akiva.
Akiva.
Just above.
We have completed the testbed. Do we have to notify someone? Yes, Akiva. When you have completed the testbed, you are supposed to download the report and just attach it to the test and onboarding request type in the Gyro service disk. It's all described in the testbed guide at the end. So definitely. Hope that answers your question. There's maybe one for you here, Mike, from InExchange. Isn't it problematic that it's only the testbed is only running Oxalis? That's only an RC.
Yes, but we are in a phase right now. Where we are trying to add more implementations, but we are still in a decision phase regarding how to roll this out.
Yes. So just for Henrik,
sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll finish.
There's another question about large files.
I want to finish, Henrik. So Henrik, it's set up to have multiple AS4 implementation, and it probably will. But we decided in the phase we're in right now, and given that we're going to have a huge load of testers in a testbed, we want stability, and we want one implementation until February. That's just not to introduce too much instability at the moment, but it's set up to be multiple.
Yeah, I want to add something here. the RC status, and probably Klaus can shed some more light here. The RC candidate the status for Oxalis is not a problem for the Peppol network. There have been some issues with the self-compliance and how automated or out of the box those changes were, but for the Peppol network, current version of Oxalis works and it's very stable, so there is no problem to use it. I think we need to get that message very clear. For the Peppol network, the current version of Oxalis is fine. So if that is the reason why you are keeping back, then there is no reason to worry. Just put it into implementation. I don't know, Klaus, if you want to.
No, you said it very clearly. This is merely a way how we actually divided it on GitHub for the moment. As I said, we are making a full package now, but it doesn't affect anything basically. So there's no reason to hold back.
Okay, so Oxalis seems good to go. So we have I'm just trying to follow the questions here. If we never intend to send large files, do we still need to pass those tests? Yes, we do. Because that is required of you as a Peppol service provider. We've also had questions that, do I need to receive anything if I'm only to send? And yes, we don't have categories of only sending service providers and only receiving. So you certify for the things, and if you only happen to send, then you at least prove that you're able to receive if you want to do that at some point. So you do all 4 tests, and that's the same for everyone. Let's see. Will there be a final version of Oxalis soon? Because there seems to be some backward compatibility issues between different Oxalis RC versions. Maybe that's for you, Klaus.
Yes, I don't think if you're running a version 4.x and then our RC10, then you shouldn't have any problems. But it requires a 4. And right now the highest is 4.1. So if you're running that, it shouldn't give any problems at all.
But I will urge this question actually also to be directed to DeFi or to the GitHub of Oxalis.
This is not the right place where we talk a lot about Oxalis.
No.
So direct it to us instead.
Yes. Is there a timeline when other AS4 implementations will be added to the testbed? This is under discussion, but I can tell you that it will not be added until after 1st of February. But we need to discuss it internally and how we want to organize this and what value it brings. It's for discussion in OpenPeppol and in the eDelivery community. So no timeline at the moment. No. Does Oxalis RC10 support just AS4 or both AS2 and AS4?
I can do a quick answer on that one.
Okay.
So first we have the Oxalis base module. This is what you need. Oxalis base module comes with AS2 capability. You can choose either version 4.0.4 or the latest one 4.1.0. And then you add on the Oxalis AS4 plugin, which enables Oxalis base. So yeah, so you will have both profiles enabled. You can't only use Oxalis AS4. It's a plugin.
Okay. At the testbed, who is the receiving participant to enter?
This is done dynamically during the test phase. So we give you a specific participant that you're supposed to address.
Yeah, but I think they're referring to the when you enter a test suite, you sort of give a Peppol ID that you want to use. That's going to be populated in the payload. But the receiving end for when you're sending it back is fixed to our testbed receiver. So you can basically pick any Peppol address type you want, which fits you. The receiving part is fixed. What is your current expectation for the cutoff date? Is that the cutoff date for AS2, Phil? Or
yes.
Yes.
I can answer that.
Okay, yeah.
You can also go and look at the migration policy. So according to agreement, the agreement of OpenPeppol and the European Commission, the phase out will start when we see the transactions on the AS2 protocol in the network drop below 20%. So that means that there is no date set at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It has been suggested that penalties will be imposed for missing the dates, 1st February and the TPC date. I understand missing the cutoff date will result in access being revoked. Is that correct? Would there be any penalty 1st of February if that was to be missed?
I can also answer that, although you did answer it before, Jesper, but just to reiterate. So we will not pull the plug on the 2nd of February, but that doesn't mean that everybody should relax. I would like to remind everyone that within 2020, everybody is re-signing every contract. And if we see that we have persistent cases of non-compliance, then there will be an issue sometime down the line. So, so far, Peppol never used the hatchet method, and so we can assure you that we will not. There is no hatchet on the 2nd of February, but there will be some pressure to get moving. So, persistent non-compliance, we will deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
One for you, Mike. Since you're testing with SSL labs, is it enforced to use port 443 for the communication to the AS4 implementation?
So a change with the AS2 V2 protocol and AS4 is that we are now mandating which ports to be used, and the ports you are allowed to use are 443 and 44300 up to 44399. And we will only allow these ports. You will only pass a test if you use any of these ports, and we have the ability to check the grade A for any of these ports.
That's also a part of the Peppol AS4 profile. So
exactly.
Yes. Is there an expected date for the testbed version 2, which was announced in the face-to-face meeting?
I can take that as well. So there are two sides to testbed 2.0. One is an increased scope in the eDelivery testing, including now SMP. So that is actually ready. And there is also the side of testing for BIS compliance, which is work in progress. We have not included the new eDelivery test cases which are ready yet, because we didn't want to disrupt the process of many people now expected to test at the same time for AS4 compliance. So we left that for the period after the 1st of February. Because one of the other problems would be that some people would have tested on the old use cases and some people would test on the new cases, and then people would ask, well, what about the we retest? So that we didn't want to have that complexity at a time when actually a majority of our service providers still have to pass the current test. So we are not initiating any new test facility until February. Just to make it as simple as possible and not to give disruption possibilities.
Coda Box has a question. Do we need to re-register all our receivers again with the SMP to indicate they should be reachable with AS4? Mike, you probably... Is there a bulk way to add AS4 to all receivers? How is that done in practice?
No, I mean, that is up to, that is done through your SMP. So you would need to check with either your SMP software or your SMP vendor.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, we're reaching the end of our
we are at the
time.
end.
Do we have any more questions?
I'm just scrolling down, and it seems to go on. I can't see the entire thing here from my side. So anyone with any more? I think we need to close the meeting because it's 10.
I think there's a very interesting question at the bottom right now.
Yeah.
Is it possible to use Peppol without opening up the firewall to anyone? I mean, basically, no. I mean, we don't allow if someone is whitelisting specific access points, because this it's not the nature of the Peppol network. You need to be able to send to anyone, and it's a dynamic protocol that looks up an arbitrary endpoint address. So no, you can't whitelist.
Correct.
Okay, I think we need to close the meeting now. Of course, there can be more questions. The slides will go out to everyone. We have also recorded this, so we'll try to extract the recording. That's is not an easy process with GoToMeeting and make it available online, but the slides will go out to everyone. There will be another webinar like this in the middle of January. And in the meantime, Jesper has already indicated the ways in which you can address to OpenPeppol support the questions, and it's all in the slides. So we'll send out the slides. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for attending, and have a good day or a good evening to you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
Later.
Bye.